I just bought this 2007 Infiniti G35X for 1,500 bucks.
And I just bought this 2014 Infiniti Q50 for $13,500. Today we answer the question, does more expensive and newer really mean more better?
Hello everyone and welcome to Performance on Wheels. My name is Todd. My son Austin and I, we make all sorts of videos on all sorts of different cars. Today we are starting an introductory video of our Infiniti journey. Austin, here we are. We went our own ways. You moved out of my house. I was looking for a new winter car. You were looking for a car without payments. I've never owned an Infiniti in my life. However, I did have a Nissan GTR at one point.
Basically the same thing.
And yeah, well, this is a Nissan Skyline overseas, so even in this generation, so there is that, right? But anyways, all of a sudden, here we are meeting in this random parking lot, and we both have Infinitis.
Yes, we do, and you went with the original G35X, featuring the same engine that can be found in the Nissan 350Z, however, with another drive axle added, being all-wheel drive. Yes. And what we have over here is the newer version of what you have, and this is the Infiniti Q50, the 2014 model, which is the same as the 2015 model before they went to the 3-liter twin turbo. This one features the naturally aspirated 3.7-liter V6 that can be found in the Nissan 370Z.
If this is your first time tuning into Performance on Wheels, please join us on our journey by hitting that subscribe button, as we mentioned, but just know what we're about, right? We like to check out different cars, especially ones that have a little bit of enthusiasm or are geared towards the car community. And both of these cars, I would say, fit that bill. So we might not be experts right now in this moment, but I guarantee you throughout our ownership experience, and as you join us, you will learn along with us.
And as we go along this video series, we're going to modify our Infinitis and make them cool going down the road. We're going to find out what type of things that the enthusiasts of these brands really do like. So comment down below what you're interested in seeing us do to both of these Infinitis. And now a quick word from today's sponsor. This is the Highboy Max Pro electric scooter with a top speed of 22 miles an hour, featuring both drum and regenerative braking.
Come here and check out this cool tech. We've got a digital speedometer. We have 3 different drive modes. We have cruise control, we have a headlight, we have some sweet lights down below, and also we have a bell. Being car enthusiasts, we absolutely love hitting the racetrack. And one thing that has always been very enjoyable at the racetrack is having an e-bike. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have the Highboy scooter out at the racetrack this year, so we can cover all 4 miles of Road America, an amazing road course located in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. This Highboy is going to be able to manage all the terrain, both on and off-road, and be able to get us to all the different fun locations.
And using our discount code PWMAXPRO, you can get an additional 5% off of the currently on sale $659 Highboy Pro Max. Be sure to check out the link down in the description below. However that old saying goes, when there's a will, there's a way, there's always a why. And why did we pick Infinitis? Why in the world did you pick up this G35?
A lot of it had to do with the price, but upon some research, there's obviously the fact that this is a pretty fun car, right? There's also the aspect that I needed a winter car, so the old Jag can go to sleep here for a few months. Winter is quickly approaching, and I luckily found an amazing all-wheel drive car that's still got a little grunt to it, being the 2nd generation with that 3.5 liter, over 300 horsepower, and a redline darn near 7,500 RPM.
And the reason that I purchased this Infiniti Q50 is I was looking to get out of car payments. We had the Ford Maverick, which is a great little truck. However, I think it's more our goal right now to focus to something that's a little bit cheaper. So we were looking for the ultimate car under $15,000. Now, in those parameters, I was looking for something that was very reliable, all-wheel drive, and something that was somewhat fun to drive on the day-to-day basis. Throughout all of my searching, the most reliable car that I kept coming back to was the Infiniti Q50 because of that 3.7. They started to have some turbo issues when we started approaching the 2016 model year. However, the 2014 and 2015 are super rock solid reliable, except for one little thing which we're going to discuss in another video.
Austin, no one cares about the Q50 because the 2nd generation G35 is here, and let me tell you, for $1,500, I have this fantastic example of a no leak underneath. There may be some mild rust, but we'll talk about that another time. 166 beautiful pampered miles. I have push button start. I have a sunroof. I have adaptive cruise control. I have a telescoping power steering wheel, Austin. Do you even have a small glimmer of these in what would be perceived as the better car?
I guess we're just gonna have to find out. Let's do a quick overview on this G35, move to the Q50, and find out if it really is worth the price.
It's amazing to even say it, that back in 2007, Austin, this car, brand new, it just sounds like just an amazing steal. Brand new MSRP, like $36,800.
It's a lot of car for 36 grand.
And again, I'm going to repeat myself, adaptive cruise control, adaptive headlights. We have full leather interior, obviously, a sunroof, heated seats. We've got a power telescoping wheel. We've got a CD changer in the trunk, for heaven's sakes, right? So like, this is a very nice car, even with options that your newer Infiniti doesn't have.
And that newer Infiniti is even a premium, one away from the very top, and the top one above that just adds a couple of flappy paddles and some bigger brakes. So it's very impressive to me that this car came standard with so many options and features. Let's go ahead and hop inside of this thing and check them out.
Before we start even talking about the options and features, let's just make sure we understand what we have. Like, this was Infiniti's first step into making a true sports sedan. We went from their previous front-wheel drive sedans to the first-time rear-drive platform in the G series. This is the second generation of the G35, right? So this is when things got interesting. Even back in 2007, this was like a direct competitor to a BMW 330i. It even accelerated a little bit faster, low 5-second 0 to 60 time and a high 13-second quarter-mile time. So like, this is a fun car, right? Even in today's standards, this is a lot of fun. But when we get into talking about the options, like I said, it's a very nice steering wheel. We've got our adaptive cruise control right there. We have our volume. We have our Bluetooth capability for our phone. And then over on my left-hand side, and I can tell you, you're not going to find this little button in your fancy 2013 because, okay, well, whatever, it doesn't matter, because my steering wheel goes up and down, in and out by me just touching a button on, Austin. It's completely power.
I really like how the entire console moves, or cluster moves, with the steering wheel. I think that's super cool.
Right.
I don't think I've seen that in any other car. I also like how you have seat memory settings. You do not have that in the Q50, which we're going to get into shortly. Overall, the interior of the Q50 in here, even, you know, it's 2007, you know, it's
G35,
it's getting old.
Q50. We'll get there in a minute.
Sorry, the G35 here. It's getting old. It does not feel cheap in here. It's a nicely laid out interior. We have this nice wood trim along the entire dash here. And even after, how many miles in this?
166, I think it is.
After 166,000 miles, there really is not much wear in here.
Yeah.
This is a well cared for example. There's some scratching and fading going away on all the door panels, on this trim by where you would rest your arm by the window switch there. Oh, it was painted. Look at that. Yeah. I'm not seeing
it's held up very well.
Not seeing any wear and tear other than that inside here on the interior. Why don't you go ahead and fire this thing up so we can play around with that navigation unit. Now, we control that navigation unit using this little button that is located right under the screen here, which is kind of similar to what we're going to find in the 2014.
Okay.
Just kind of a different spot. Here's what I find very impressive compared to the 2014 though. This looks super, super dated. This screen, right? It looks old as can be. However, it manages to have a faster response time to all of my inputs.
What? How does that even work?
I kid you not. The response time on every
quick. Look
input,
at that.
it's super fast. It's very, very fast. It's crazy. Yeah, that's way, way faster than the 2014 Infiniti. Looks insanely old. Like, it looks terribly old. But I'm very impressed with how quick the responsiveness is. Let's talk about the outside of this quick and then head over to the Q50. I'm kind of upset we're on the outside now because I love those seats. They're very nicely bolstered on the outside, super comfortable. They hold you in pretty well. And if I am not mistaken, the bottom half of that seat looks very similar to your Nissan GTR, actually.
There is that, right? But I think another important thing to note is that I am yet to find an option. I am yet to find a feature that doesn't work flawlessly. Everything works exactly as intended. All the options work. There doesn't seem to be any gremlins. I have a few little Christmas tree lights on the dashboard, but that's besides the point. We can talk about that when we get into some maintenance in a future video. When we talk about the outside, Austin, like obviously I have this beautiful pearl paint, and what we're gonna find is, being from Minnesota, you really get to tell the quality of a car's paint and the quality of the underbody of a car. And on this G35 that, you know, maybe wasn't washed on a regular basis, there's definitely some spots where a little bit of rust started to pop, kind of rear its ugly head, right? And those spots are like by both of the rear wheels, just in front of them as well as just behind them. And then on my chrome spoiler, where you see that beautiful rear view camera,
Dang.
there's also a few little spots that have formed there.
All in all, this is a gorgeous car. We do have adaptive headlights as well, by the way, back in 2007. Absolutely gorgeous car, cleaned up very nicely. Very impressive car for $1,500. The Q50 has a lot to live up to for its dramatically higher price point. Let's go ahead and check that thing out now.
Austin, I must say that as I walk up to the Q50, like, it's a fantastic car. It still looks relevant even 10 years later.
I would sure as heck hope so, because it's still in production 10 years later.
Okay.
They have not changed a thing on this 2014 Q50. You can purchase a new 2024 Infiniti Q50, and it has the same exterior. Heck, it actually has the exact same interior. Yes, you can get a different sport bumper, or a different bumper and back, but ultimately this is the exact same car you can still purchase 10 years later, which is why it doesn't feel dated. So I picked up this one for about $13,500 instead of buying one that's less reliable for over $50,000.
The Q50 does a fantastic job of not only looking like classy, luxurious, but it also looks very sporty, and I love that.
I do too. I really like the S bumper. This one does not have the sport package on it, but the S bumper makes it look quite a bit more aggressive up front. A lot of people swap those on over, and maybe that's something we could look into doing in the future. But it is very impressive to me that, you know, this car is 10 years old now. It really shows that Infiniti was on top of their A game in 2014 when it came down to design. This is a gorgeous car for 2014.
Yeah.
It really is. It was ahead of a lot of cars when it came to look and appearance. I think that also applies to the interior, so let's go ahead and hop inside.
When you say that it was ahead of its time in 2014, I'll even challenge you to say that mine, the G35, was ahead of its time in 2007, because you start looking at some of the details, like the actual headlight, and they're very, very, very similar looking. It's almost like they use the actual same headlight design. I'm not talking about the whole body of the headlight, but the actual headlight inside, right? And when you open the door and you get into the Infiniti Q50, obviously we now have some illuminated door sills versus my non-illuminated, and we also have that beautiful Infiniti puddle light shooting down on the ground that you can see very clearly at night. And you get inside, and there's a lot of similarities with the G35. I mean, there's some aspects that if you put someone in this car that didn't know any better, you'd think that you were in the G35 with maybe just an updated screen.
One thing that's very impressive to me hopping inside of this out of the G35 is I almost feel like they just took the seats right on out of it. However, this one does have adjustable bolsters. You can change your bolsters over there on the side, which is pretty dang cool. You can change how stiff they are. They're very, very comfortable seats. This one does have heated seats, and you can actually put them in the auto setting, which tracks your body temperature to adjust to whatever temperature you choose. And once your body's at the temperature, your automatic heated seats will just shut right on off. Why don't you go ahead and start this thing up so we can talk about the tech.
I feel like these seats are actually more comfortable, and that could just be the newness of them. They're probably ultimately very similar, but these seats, man, I could take a nap right now. This is fantastic.
I would agree. The overall interior of this thing, I would say, is right on par with the G35 when it comes to overall quality. However, it does look a lot more updated, but at the same time, it's almost like they use cheaper materials in some spots, but nicer materials in others. For example, these door cards feel way nicer.
They look very good.
Yeah, they look very good too. I love the stitching across the sides of them. However, the dashboard, I would almost argue, looks better in your G35 in the sense where it doesn't look as cheap. You can clearly tell this is a harder plastic, but it does look nice. It's a very aesthetically pleasing interior. Now
that 45 seconds has gone by and the infotainment is booted up.
Yeah, it's bad. The 2014 and 2015, and honestly all of them, as based on what I've read, their infotainment's really, really bad. It's super, super laggy. It's not fast at all. Like, it's terrible. It's very impressive how much faster your infotainment is. Granted, yes, this one does have a better output when it comes to the quality in the display, but it's so unbelievably laggy. It's hilarious.
So my screen in my G35 looks like it's from 1985, but yours responds like it's from 1985.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And this one, however, this one does have an aftermarket Apple CarPlay hookup in it, which is around $700, I believe.
That looks like it works pretty good.
And it actually works great. It's super impressive. However, as soon as you exit that and go back to the map settings, it once again is super laggy. So it has a great little Apple CarPlay thing here. The screen on the top screen doesn't look nearly as crystal clear as the bottom screen, which is kind of weird. But all in all, it's a really nice car. It's a great interior. I really wish that you could put the mile per hour up on the little screen that we have between the gauges. But all in all, I think this is a super nice car.
Yeah, we have push button start in both the G35 and the Q50. There's a lot of things that are just very similar. It's kind of fun. The button placement is very similar, both on the left side of the steering wheel. The steering wheel is similar. The gauge cluster is similar. They are very similar feeling cars. They both feel good, which makes it makes it appealing on the used market because you have this well-built, high-quality car that has a good reliability reputation and the interior quality holds up. I'm looking forward to diving into some of the more specs on these Infinitis in future videos.
And speaking of specs, this is probably one of the coolest color combos ever in this particular car. I know what you guys seen on camera is just totally black. However, this is called Black Melbeck or Melbeck Black, and it's purple. It's really dark purple.
Cool.
In the sun, it absolutely glows purple. And these wheels are pretty cool from the factory. I think we're gonna end up going to some brass or bronze ones. We'll see what happens down the road. But this purple over that like whitish off-tan interior, absolutely gorgeous car. This looks significantly more modern than the G35, both outside and in, but ultimately it comes down to how the car drives, feels, and I mean, 13 or 12 grand's a lot of money.
I'm looking forward to getting into some of those driving impressions. Which one's faster? Which one's more engaging? Which one is like more fun behind the wheel? We're gonna check that out in a future video. Ultimately, this is just our introductory video on the Infiniti G35 and Infiniti Q50. We're so glad you tuned in. We're looking forward to seeing you next time.
See you guys.